What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, I've been kind of MIA recently, but I wanted to kind of explain what's going on there. So, a couple of things. One thing, I got a job, started working full time again, to help the family out with finances. Obviously, as a father, as a husband, you have to do what you have to do. My wife makes really good money, so we were trying to ride it out for a while, and I was kind of going to do this YouTube thing. But man, it's expensive to live this day and age. And despite the fact that my wife makes a good professional salary, after a few months passed, we were like, we need more. We want more. We should get more and desire more, especially being that I'm 48 years old, steadily heading towards retirement, all of those things. So I went out and got myself a full time job, really good benefits, all that good stuff. I'm finishing up my first week now. This is Friday of my first full week at my new job. Like it a lot so far. That's enough about that. So I've had something going on in my life that I kind of wanted to talk about, and it's not just my life, but my family's life, and I wanted to kind of let you guys know, just so you would know what's going on. If it benefits you in some way, great. If it scares the shit out of you in some way, probably should. If it draws out any sort of emotion in you, that just means you're human. So Tuesday afternoon of this week, I got a call from my son's daycare. Some of you may know, some of you don't. Despite the fact that I'm 48 years old, I do in fact have a toddler age child. He's 21 months. His name is River. Cutest little guy you've ever seen. Um, I got a call from his daycare and they had me on speakerphone. That's the first thing they told me. And they started telling me, first thing I want you to know is River is okay. And when they say that, the first thing you think is he's okay. Okay, but what happened? What happened? Just spit it out. What happened? So then they proceed to tell me that his teacher, who had been his teacher for probably a good 5 to 6 months at that point, became rough with him, as they put it. Rough. In fact, the way she put it is a little rough. Um, and that she is seen on video camera. And the only reason they know this is because, thank God, two of the other teachers saw this happening, heard her yelling, and reported it to the director. Now, there's several layers to this, and it's an ongoing investigation sort of thing. So I wouldn't dare show the video. I actually have a copy of the video. Wouldn't dare show that for legal purposes. And plus, it freaking wrenches my guts to watch it. The lady became very frustrated because my son grabbed something that he shouldn't. She turned around. She grabbed him by his little head. She shook him like that and literally picked my toddler age son up off of his feet. His feet were in the air, and she had him by his head. And luckily, I think she thought better of it and realized I fucked up. She put him down pretty quickly, but then you can see at that point his face turned towards the camera. He's already starting to cry. Scared the shit out of him, I'm sure. Anyway, the director and the assistant director were not available on that day. One of them was having eye surgery, another had some sort of medical procedure happening. So they were alerted about this, but neither one of them came into the office on Friday. So we go the whole weekend, didn't know anything about this, and they didn't want anyone to tell us because they wanted to watch the video camera, look at the video footage, make sure that what they were being told is actually what happened. So when they came in Monday, they did that, got all the paperwork together. They called the lady She wasn't even there when she was actually fired. She was actually called, and they fired her over the phone. So she was terminated immediately. Um, but then I got a call somewhere around 3 o'clock or 3:30 Tuesday afternoon, and we were told this. Now listen, mind you, this happened Friday. Okay, this event took place Friday morning, 4 days earlier. All right. Some of you may know, some of you may not. My college degree is in human development family studies, a specialization in birth through kindergarten. So, what these directors do for a living, that's what I went to school for. So, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. I know everything they're talking about, and this director knows that about me. So, I could hear the nervousness in her voice as she spoke to me. Okay. And after having a few hours, I came home, spoke to my wife about it. We watched the video. We were mortified. Thank God that my son was okay. He seemed to be okay over the weekend because I know a lot of you have probably heard of the term shaken baby syndrome. It is very common under children that are under 2 years old as their little spinal columns and their brains and their skulls begin to close in and completely form. There's a lot of fragility there in the brain, the skull, the spinal column at a young age. Luckily, my son is a very, spunky, rambunctious, healthy, thick little boy. I've had two children. Both of them have been very, very healthy children. I've never had a frail child in my life, so that's good. And I wasn't a frail child. I rough and tumble with him all the time. He loves it. I pick him up, throw him on the bed, and he just giggles and laughs. So, in hindsight, I'm fortunate that I have that sort of play therapy with him because I think it toughens him up quite a lot. And what this woman did to him, fortunately, didn't cause any long term injury, but it could have. It could have. And we are not only thankful that it didn't, but we are pissed. Not only pissed at the woman for what she did, and by the way, police officer came by the house yesterday. We filled out a report. This woman's not only been terminated, but she will be arrested. There's a full investigation by Child Protective Services that's happening because we want this woman to never, ever, ever work around children again if she can't control her emotions any better than what she did on that day, right? My toddler's just like any other toddler. He's not the greatest listener. He's 20 months old. He's still not verbal yet. He's starting to kind of, you know, experiment with all the different sounds. He's a boy. Sometimes they start talking a little bit later. So he's a little behind the curveball there, but typically normal, everyday kid, I guess you could say. So, point being, as we move forward in this, and that's my wife calling me right there. Hold on, let me click that. Um, so where was I at? All right. So what it was that angered us the most, shaken baby syndrome is a real thing, and there have been a lot of children to not only die from that, but um, suffer severe brain damage, damage to the spinal column, a lot of stuff that could potentially be irreparable, right? If it were to happen. Fortunately, it seems like none of this happened to him, but it could have. And we weren't notified of the incidents until almost 5 days after it happened, guys. And the director and the assistant director were grossly apologetic. They have basically just laid out the red carpet to me and my wife ever since. Like, keep the baby at home. We'll hold his spot. Normally, if you're not at daycare, they will continue. You'll continue paying. So because they need to hold that spot, lest they could give that spot to another child. So if you're out of town for 3, 4, 5 days, or your kid's sick for 3 or 4, 5 days, you still pay the daycare like he's there, right? That's not happening right now. They said you don't have to pay. We'll hold a spot. We're so sorry. We terminated her on the spot, blah, 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 blah. But I have spoken with them, and my biggest point of contention with the directors and everybody else is the fact that we didn't find out about this till 5 days later. Now, if there is a best case scenario in a scenario like this is best case scenario. Doesn't seem like he's hurt. Seems like he's fine. Seems like he's okay. But what if he wasn't? What if he had a brain bleed that day from the way this woman shook him and picked him up the way she did? And then they sent him on home to us over the weekend. And then over the weekend, we start noticing something different about him. And we were not even made aware that he was physically abused at daycare that Friday. Then we would all be in a way bigger world of hurt, right? And that includes this daycare, and the daycare is in a church. So it is a church run and owned daycare. I love church, but church folks are just folks. They're just people, right? So there's been a lot of mistakes made, and one of the biggest ones being that we were not notified until 5 days later. And I talked to the directors about that, and they have said nothing but, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They're scared. They're scared shitless, and they should be. But I will keep you guys updated. I'm not going to give a lot of detail about it. Obviously, the name of the daycare, the person who it involved. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff, but this is a cautionary tale, and there are a lot of people out there that have children. You think it won't happen to you until it happens to you, and it's happened to me. So, and not just to me, but obviously my son and my wife's mortified. My wife didn't think she could even have children. She finally has a child accidentally at 40 years old. So obviously the sun rises and sets in my son for her. Okay. But a lot of you have children. A lot of you plan to have children or have had children or do have children of that age, and you have to be very careful. And I'll talk more about this as it unfolds, but I just want to touch base with you guys, let you know I did not fall off the face of the earth. I'm still here, and hope you guys got something out of the video, and I'll try to at least still do a video or two a week. All right, I gotta go because it's time for me to bounce, go to my job, but you guys take care, and we will talk again soon. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.